Hey guys, what's up? Zax here. Today we are here with the Go-Karting Championship, and we are here today with round 7 and a pretty interesting couple of races, but we'll get to that after qualifying obviously. And the two of you you've got today, on the left hand side that's me, and on the right hand side that is Ben. So go through what everyone is look like in their overalls and everything. So me, I've got my blue overalls and blue helmet. Ben's got a red overalls and a red and black helmet. Will's got a white helmet and blue overalls. That's the same as my dad, but you can tell the difference. My dad's got sort of a little bit of a black stripe along his suit, so you'll be able to see that. And Tom has got green overalls and then a black helmet. And then you've got James, who I think's got blue overalls and I think a black helmet, but I'll let you know when we see him on the track. But yeah, straight away you can see Will has got through, and this is only qualifying by the way, just to let you know this isn't a race because we're just starting on the grid, cause that's what they normally do. And you can see Will from the start's getting past Ben, so he's obviously trying to chase me down. I opened up a little bit of an advantage here already from the offset, so I was just hoping to sort of pull away obviously in qualifying, even though it is qualifying, you know, not a race or anything. I was still hoping to just try and pull out a gap and sort of try and get my pace. But the thing with Filching Manor, it's a great place, great karting, great people there. Always the marshals always help out. The people there are always nice. But the karts are never the same. They're never the same. So that's the only downside there. So you'll always get different karts. People with the best karts normally win unless they're really terrible. So yeah, you know, it's all about that. And there's all, you know, different types of karts. For example, like you've got in, say, something like GP2. It's a bit of a weird comparison, but in GP2 you have lots of different people and lots of different setups, but the actual kart is the same. It's just how they're set up and how, you know, the tyres have worn, etc. So, for example, my kart had quite a long brake. So, for example, I pushed it down sort of 80% of the way, it did nothing, and then the last 20% was where all the braking happened. And normally it's about, you know, I don't know, probably about 30-40%, then the braking sort of gradually comes in, but mine, the last sort of 20% is where the braking is happening. So of course it's better than not having any brakes whatsoever, but it's not exactly ideal. So that's where I was sitting. Ben, I think, having a similar problem with both of the pedals. My accelerator was alright, but it sounds like Ben's pedals, not, you know, quite long pedals, so that means that, you know, you have to push quite a long way down with your foot to actually get the braking or the accelerating going. So that's just the only troubles that we had. Will didn't seem to have any problems. He seems to be going alright, so that's good for him. My dad seems to have had quite a good kart as well. He was doing quite well. James also doing very well, and Tom, I'm not sure whether it was an off day for him or whatever, but he wasn't exactly his fastest, but you know, he's always picking up those points. And if you look at the championship standings, he's going into this round, he was lying, I think, in 5th position or 4th position. 5th position going into this round. I think we just overtook James there, and I think he was right. I only caught in the glimpse while I was looking at the standings to my right, but I think he was wearing a white helmet and blue overalls, so you can watch out for him as you go around the track. But obviously, they're darker blue overalls, and hopefully the cameras and everything are looking right. I pointed them up a little bit more last time. They were pointed down a little bit too much, especially on Tom's camera. I think this time they're looking pretty good. The cameras are capturing sort of what I wanted, sort of just the bottom of the shot's about, you know, a little bit of the car as Will overtakes me there. But the, you know, the little bit at the bottom of the shot's the car, and then most of the shots, sort of what you can see in front of you. You can see they're slightly different. I mean, obviously me and Ben are different heights, so it's, you know, different in terms of, you know, where, you know, what angle the cameras are pointed at, etc. But I think this is probably what I'll leave the camera angles at from now on. I think this is probably as good as it's going to get. Maybe change Ben's a little bit so it points down a little bit more, but I think mine's about perfect actually. You can see the bottom of the kart, you can see my hands just about, and you can also see all that's happening in front of me, so pretty much perfect camera angle. But you know, leave your comments down below about what sort of camera angle you think's best. I've also got a chest mount, but we tested that out last year and it didn't really look that good, so we decided not to go with that. But if you really want to look at it, I think it's on my channel, AlexZAfRo, which is linked down below. You can see Ben's getting a little bit stuck up behind James here, who at the start was obviously a little bit slow. It's only his 2nd time karting here, if I remember correctly, or maybe it's his 3rd time. But he's definitely picking up the pace very quickly as Ben puts it down the inside. James, I'm not sure whether he knew he was there, but James nearly causing an accident, or nearly being involved in an accident. It would have been Ben that had caused the accident as he put it up the inside. But yeah, James did well then not to get involved in an accident. But obviously he's just trying to put in some times. And unfortunately, I didn't actually get the sheet from the they normally give out 3 pieces of paper at the end with all the results and everything, but this time I only got the results from race 3. But I remember the results of qualifying and everything in my head, but it just means that I haven't got the times and everything, which is a bit unfortunate. And also, one thing I forgot to say is there was like a £5 voucher in like a local paper thing. It wasn't really a paper, I don't know, it's just like one of those free magazine things that you can get around. There was a free extra 5 minutes, sorry, not £5. So if you do 20 minutes or more, you can bring this voucher in and get 5 extra minutes. So that's what we took. So basically, it's a 10-minute qualifying, a 15-minute race for race 1, and a 10-minute race for race 2. So we've got our 35 minutes. As Will goes extremely wide, they're nearly crashing into the back of him there. I wasn't sure what he was going to do, whether he was going to sort of jink right after he sort of hit the barrier slightly there. So that's why I stuck to the that's not a word. I stuck to the outside line, and it didn't really work out. I ended up getting bottled up behind him as he was going slow, obviously, after he'd hit the barrier, but not too bad. You can see I'm keeping up with Will here. I'm just trying my best because I know he is extremely fast. He's won a go-kart championship, so I know he's extremely fast. I'm just trying to keep up with him, and really anything I can do, like if I can just keep up with him, really that's a big achievement, because I know he's a very fast driver in kart, and really just trying to pick up as many points as possible. I know because Will obviously isn't doing the full championship as he's going away after round 8, so at round 8 will most likely be his last race he'll be doing. Maybe he might do round 9, I'm not too sure, but round 8 will most likely be his last round, so he's not fighting for the championship, even though he would have most likely won it if he'd done every single race, as we're coming up to lap Tom here in qualifying. So trying to look around the outside of here, Will, I was trying to get the move done, and I have actually got the move done. I managed to give him space on the inside. You see I'm giving him space there, and he puts his nose back up the inside as we're running side by side, and I still get the move done and run a tad wide, but I moved up in front of Will and make a mistake here, and he's probably going to get a run down the inside here. I think I saw a glimpse of his car up there as he's moved himself back up into well, if it was race P1, but it's only qualifying, so it's just a little mini race we're having here. So trying to get around Tom here as I go to the outside. Tom's going back on the attack there, but I'll get a little bit stuck up behind Tom there, and I think this is where I was like, well, I could either slow up a bit here, or try and get past Tom, but I knew Tom's really good at defending, so I think I have a couple more. No, I don't. This is where I just back off and I just slow up, and I was just trying to give myself a bit of a space. So as I knew we were probably only a couple of laps left, so I was just slowing up, trying to get a gap as my dad gets past Ben on the right hand side of your screen. Ben is having a bit of a lonely session up till that point, but my dad getting the overtake done there. And as I should say this many a time, because a lot of people may be confused, it might look like a race, but this is only qualifying. So yeah, we're just going for times, and that's why I backed off. Obviously in a race situation I would not back off like I did, to try and just leave myself space to Tom, as I knew Tom was a really good defender. So I was like, do I waste 2 laps trying to get past him, or do I just waste 1 lap dropping back and try and get a good lap in? So I was in 2 minds about what I should do, but this is it, really, my last lap. You can see I caught him a huge amount through this sort of twisty part of the track here, the middle part of the track, and up to the start finish line, trying to get the move down the inside. Not exactly what I did, and there we are. That is that done, and I'm not sure whether we got the checkered flag. I didn't actually look up, so I don't think it was the checkered flag. I think Ben was looking up at it there, so I think that's the checkered flag for Ben, but I think it's our last lap. You can see my dad and Ben both going around slowly. So that is the end of their session. We'll be coming across the line any second now. Then it'll be me, then it'll be Tom, and then it'll be James, unless James had got picked up at the flag before, but it'll be Tom, then James. But we'll see the qualifying results soon, because that was a pretty interesting session as I've finished my lap now. So let's have a look at those results actually after we get slowed down and stopped, and fade out to black and get the results. So qualifying results, I got pole by a couple of hundredths of a second. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I just nibbed pole, which was really good. And P2 was Will, P3 was my dad, P4 was Ben, P5 was Tom, and P6 was James. We're all separated, remember correctly, by less than 1.5 seconds, which is really good. At least it's close, and we're looking to a good race. And here we are. Here's race number 1. I'm starting on pole. You can see there on the left hand side of the screen, on the right hand side of the screen, Ben starting in P number 4. And I've always been bad at starts. The left hand side of the grid is better for starts. That's just a fact. But I've got the position on the track, you know, just like track position, a couple of meters ahead. But I'm also heavier, so really it's going to be tough to get off the line. But we do try and get away from the line good, but Will gets the much better start, as he normally does, and he's got off into P1, and Ben's trying to attack around the outside here, but I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to put it back down the inside there and grab back P2 and try and catch Will. So at the moment, the order you're seeing: P1 Will, P2 myself, P3 Ben, and I think P4 my dad. Then I think James and Tom actually having a really good battle over P5 back there, which we'll see any second now. Actually no, we won't see any second now because I haven't got any outboard footage, silly me. But we will see at the end of the race who got the best out of those two, because they're very close in qualifying. And see Will making a slight mistake, and I'm right over the back of his bumper now, and I'm really trying to get the overtake done as quickly as possible, as I know he will be better over the long stint, as he's just generally faster. I normally can get one quick lap in, but over my race runs I can normally be a bit inconsistent unless I'm, you know, for example, I think it was the last round when I really caught up my dad, I was just putting in consistent times because I had nothing to lose. But in a race like this, I think I'm a little bit inconsistent. I need to iron out that inconsistency, especially if you know, someone starts challenging me in the championship. But at the moment, I've got what nearly a 2-race buffer really in terms of points over second place. So you see Ben's already getting dropped off the back here, so my dad goes up to P3 there, and actually you'll see why everyone is stopping here. Not sure that you can really see it on the screen, but there's actually been a red flag out, and I'm wondering why. And you can see on my screen, the left hand side, 2 karts are crashed in the middle of the track, blocking the entire track, and that was Tom and James coming together. And I think actually it was just a spin on James's part, and then Tom spun trying to avoid him, I remember correctly. So we're just fast forwarding all this. I think we go into the pit lane here, and everybody's wondering what is happening, but then we'll end up going onto the grid. So I'm not sure why, but they did a full race restart, so I ended up being back on pole position, which wasn't really what I wanted. I'd preferred, as Will got the better start. He started on pole, but really I suppose he'll get the better start anyway. So they're pushing us into positions here as Ben is lining up there. So I was really confused about what was happening here, but I suppose at least we got the race back underway. This was our 15-minute race, and I think it ended up going on for about 25 minutes. You know, if I played this at full speed, it would end up going for about 25 minutes. So yeah, it was interesting, especially in the heat. It was really tough. But everyone's lining up on the grid now. My dad's being slotted into P3. I'm wondering, I don't know why I'm looking down at my steering wheel, but I'm just you know, when you've been sitting in the heat for this long, I was sitting, you know, waiting for the grid in this part. Actually, I think it was because, actually no, I think it was the first start when Tom had something wrong with this car. His engine just cut out or something, and we were just sitting there for about 5 minutes in the heat with, you know, the engine boiling up behind us, not moving. It wasn't exactly great, but here we are, the secondary start. A much better start from me this time, but still not good enough to beat Will into turn 1. He's already ahead, and Ben looking to the outside here already. He's trying to get the move done, but I've already got back up to P2, as we were status quo from the first race, or the first part of this first race, or well, technically it's a full race restart here. So I'm really just all over the place here. You can see I'm not really sticking to my lines very well, and there is a slight problem with the car, which we'll see very shortly, but you can see I'm sort of losing a lot of time in comparison to Will, and the car is not exactly handling how I'd want it to. It's sort of, say I'm turning to the right, it's sort of twitching a bit to the left before it goes to the right, so I'm sort of drifting around the corners, which really wasn't helping me, and you can see I'm losing so much time, and I'm actually wondering what is wrong with my car at this point. Ben is also seeing this opportunity and thinking this can be an easy podium for me here. I could even be the top step if Will makes a mistake out in front, but Ben getting into the slipstream here, he's looking to the inside. Is he going to get the move done? No, he's not. Managed to turn in, but my car is sliding all over the place. You can see I'm not being able to control it very well, and you can see it's sort of sliding. I was wondering what is happening with this car. I'm losing a huge amount of time to Will. At this point I knew the race win was nigh on impossible, but Ben gets to move down the inside. Does he? No. See, I'm wondering what is wrong with the car, and I nearly hit the barriers because I'm looking down. Is there something wrong with the wheels or something? But Ben gets to the inside. You can see a Marshall running down here, and I'm going up the straight. I'm not really squeezing Ben, as I knew he was going to get the move done, and Ben gets down the inside. Not going to be able to fight that off, and that means Ben up into P2, and my car still sliding all over the place, still trying to gamble it here and over the bumps. Guess what happens? My left rear wheel has fallen off. Sort of the it's not connected to the rear axle anymore. It may look like it, but it's sort of enclosed in sort of like a little housing. So yeah, that wasn't fun. Not fun whatsoever. My rear left wheel has fallen off, and thankfully the marshal was just telling me to go over and get a new car, and like Usain Bolt, I'm sprinting it across the track to get into my new car as quickly as possible. Don't want to lose a lap, but it's probably impossible for me to really go on and finish this race with a good position now. You'll see Will goes past into to lap me now, and then Ben so slow out the pits. Ben laps me as well. So, and then slows down for yellow flags, but there aren't even yellow flags out of this part of the track. But I'm thinking I really shouldn't overtake him, just in case. There are yellow flags starting just around this corner, but Ben was going incredibly slowly. You know, I could have overtaken him, but I don't know, it would have been a bit dangerous. And as soon as we go past into the yellow flags, Ben starts speeding up a bit, and you can see my car there. I'm not focused on that, I'm getting a bit angry under the helmet, but you know, when you think about it, you pay for whatever, how many minutes you're doing, and it does say on the warning board or whatever that motorsport can be dangerous and all that sort of stuff, and you normally don't really think about it because normally it is so safe. But you know, that's just one of those things, isn't it? Luckily the wheel didn't come off and hit anyone. I mean, I nearly collected my dad as I went straight on. I couldn't really steer because the rear axle of my car was pretty much on the ground, because obviously the rear like collapsed pretty much because of the wheel falling off. So that wasn't great, and I think here you can see, oh, it's not there, but you won't believe my luck, because until this race I'd finished in the top 3 every single race we had done. So up until this point we had done 12 races, and I'd finished in the top 3 in every single one of them, and I had not lost out to the leader by more than like 3 seconds. So I'd not lost the race by more than 3 seconds the entire season, and I'm sitting here a lap down, not even catching Ben. I'm just really slow actually, and it's just unfortunate, but that's racing. I mean, I really should be, you know, upset in a way, because everyone has bad luck, and obviously at the time I was a bit angry, but watching back on this I'm really not that angry whatsoever. It's just part of racing, and luckily I got the points for pole position, which will maximise any loss that I get in this first race. So, you know, that's alright. I mean, you can see I'm starting to catch Ben here, so I'm thinking, well, I suppose everything should be good. I mean, we could even manage 4th place here, but unfortunately for us, we're still, you know, probably about 20 odd seconds behind Tom and James, who are still actually squabbling it out for P5, which was a great race. But I think somewhere along the line, unfortunately for Tom, he ended up having a spin, which unfortunately for him meant that he ended up behind James, but he did fight back towards the end of race 1, and there was still a nice squabble between them two. So we're sitting in this race, really just wanting it to finish, really. Ben's sitting in P2 here. He's hoping for those points as best as he can, because obviously he's missed out in the last 2 races. He's only at this, and until this point, he's only done 3 of the 6 races. But I've been talking to him, and he's been saying, yeah, I really am going to be trying to do the rest of the season, as he's really wanting to get a top 3 in the championship. Obviously, missing a couple of rounds really won't be helping, but there we are. There's the board. I don't know whether you saw it on the left-hand side of your screen. Well, I suppose you've seen it on both sides of the screens, but there's one of the marshals telling me to come into the pits this lap. It wasn't because like aggressive driving or anything, which is normally the case, but this time it was because, yeah, you won't believe my luck, I had a problem with my car, which meant I had to end up coming into the pits. I'm not sure what the problem was, but better safe than sorry. I wasn't going to be ending up winning this race or anything, so I come into the pits. Yeah, a little bit silly on my part, coming in a bit too fast, and I'm pulling over here, and at this point, yeah, but I'm very angry. Getting out of the car and ready to get into the new one, and there's the new one over there, and they're going to get into that as quickly as possible. She's just getting the numbers swapped around, so that's that. Unfortunate for us, but as I said earlier, it's racing, things happen. Maybe, or hopefully, that's my bad luck over for the rest of the season. 2 kart changes in 1 race is more than I'd ever wanted, but I'll take that over, I'll take coming last in 1 race for getting good results in the rest of them. And in this kart, I was talking about karts not being equal earlier on in this video. It's just one of those karts that didn't feel good. It was very slow in a straight line, so I was angry after I finished this race, obviously, so I asked the marshals whether I could change around to a different car after this race, and they said yes. And I don't know whether you can clearly see, but I could feel in the car that it wasn't revving very high, and overall it was very slow in a straight line, which you can say it was down to maybe the tyres not being up to temperature, so I wasn't carrying as much speed onto the straight, but it really just was very slow in a straight line. So thankfully they let me switch my kart around, and the kart I had for the second race, like my 75th kart of the day, was actually alright. So we'll turn our interest to Ben's side of the screen now, as that's more interesting, as he's coming up to lap Tom, who's had his spin and trying to catch up to the back of James, and that's Ben overtaken him, and Ben now continuing to sit in P2, but my dad challenging hard over the last couple of races. He really has been putting in some big performances. He's got the win off his back, got the monkey off his back in. That's what a lot of people say in like GB2 and that, when they finally get the win. They got the monkey off their back, he got the win, which was good for him. That means pretty much the only person that's sort of done a lot of races that hasn't won a race so far is Tom, which is unfortunate, because he's put a lot of effort into making it to every event as he possibly can, except from one event which he sadly couldn't come because he was ill. But apart from that, he's made every event and really been doing well. A couple of events he's been challenging for wins, but it's just been unfortunate. It's just one of those things, karting. As I said about the good bad kart, he's normally ended up in a bad kart, which is not good for him. But you can see Ben slightly going on the defensive here. He's slightly pulling to the right hand side down the straight. I think he knows there's a threat for position here, as my dad is challenging really hard for this position. And Ben going over the bumpy part of the track there where my wheel fell off. It's just interesting to sort of see the different lines. It'd be great to see like a side-by-side comparison of mine and Will's qualifying laps. It'd be near impossible to find which lap was fastest. Sorry, for both of us. We both had a camera on. That'd be great. But I think Will's got like a really he's got like a proper go-kart helmet, so he didn't want to stick one of the GoPro mounts on, which is really understandable, because I wouldn't want to be sticking on a GoPro mount onto a helmet, which cost probably quite a bit of money. But I've only got like a cheap motorbike helmet. But anyway, we should turn our attention back to Ben's side of the screen, because he clearly knows now there is an attack from behind. My dad is really looking for a good position here. He needs the points in the championship to try and keep ahead of Job, who is currently, I should say, sitting in P2 in the championship. He's only 3 points behind Job currently, my dad. So he's looking for every point he possibly can, as Job couldn't make it to this event, and he knows that Job will probably make it to every other event. So it's really going to be a great battle between them, and especially if Ben can make it to every other event. Honestly, I think Ben, well actually I think me, Ben, my dad and Joe are all very, very close in terms of speed, and I think once we all get on the track again together, it's going to be a great, great battle. I think Will is just faster than everyone. You know, that's just the facts. He's just a lot faster than most of us out there. So I do my best on the occasions where I do have a good kart to try and beat Will, but you know, he's just a great driver, so it's hard to beat him every single time. And there's really not much going on either screen at the moment. Ben definitely knows there's trouble behind. Well, not really trouble, but he knows there's an attack from my dad, because he's definitely putting on the defensive moves around the track. He's going on the defensive lines, and well, that's going to pay off for him or not, we'll see soon. But you can see Ben is really trying his hardest here to try and keep second place in this race. He knows Will is well gone down the road. He's not going to be catching him unless, you know, he gets involved in an accident and ends up off the track. But Ben driving right down the right hand side of the track, knowing full well my dad is probably right behind him, trying to find a move. And my dad actually did struggle at the start of the season to optimise his lines, everything around the track, but pretty much since, well, he had a really good round 2, well, it's his first race actually, but ever since round 5 he's been picking up great results. So round 5 up to this event, so well, three weekends in a row, he's putting great performances. And there was a couple of, you know, up and down moments. I mean, round 3 was definitely his worst. He only picked up 12 points in that, so that wasn't good for him. And you can see Will has ended up lapping me once again, just showing and highlighting, well, probably partly because I'm mad, and partly because I'm not driving as well as I could be, and partly because the kart's probably not as good as I'd hoped. He's ended up lapping me for for the second time. And you're just going to see I'm on 100% attack really here. Maybe being angry and stuff from the race is probably slightly slowing me down, but you can just see he's just pulling away. He's going defensive because he thinks I'm right behind him, but he doesn't realise I've already dropped back. Probably good old second. Yeah, good old second behind him. But we're coming into the last 2 minutes, and my dad has made the overtake up into P2. Ben, I think, shaking his head slightly there, not appreciating that. So my dad's going to be picking up 12 points instead of 10 if he can contain. What am I talking about? I've been talking for like 20 odd minutes, or 28 minutes nearly straight. But he's gonna, yeah, it's gonna be a bit annoyed at himself there for letting my dad overtake him with only a couple of laps to go here. So that's not good for him. But you can see Will is just driven away on my side of the screen. Can't even really see him now. He's just driving so far off into the distance. And I'm not sure when the last lap is, as I'm viewing. I think actually that might be it. Is it? No, it's not. I'm just being a bit weird and looking all around all the place. I knew I had nothing to fight for. Whoa! Ben side of the screen there, James. Probably not knowing my dad was going on the overtake. But that's it. Ben has crossed the line and finished the race. He's finished in P3. My dad's ended up in P2, and Will ends up getting P1. And wow, what a weird race that was. And I've got to tell you, apparently my transponder, I don't know where or when, but my transponder failed sometime in that race. So what they did is they went round in my kart to get my laps back, but for some reason they put me on the lead lap again. So in the second race I'm starting P2 when I really shouldn't be. But I've counted myself here. I've counted my points as last, not as second as they said I was. But I'm gonna be respectful of the situation no matter what they said and put myself in last place. So Will won from my dad, then Ben. James beats Tom to P4, and then I end up in P number 6. So here we are, race number 2. The lights are out and away we go. Starting on the left hand side from P2 as they put me up into P2, annoyingly, but whatever, we'll save that. And then James having a great start, P4, Is he going to get it? Is he going to keep it? No, but a really great start. It was challenging for P2. A fantastic start for James. He'll be happy with that. And that is that. Back to sort of the status quo. Will leading. I'm in second. Ben's in third. James is currently in fourth. Then it's Tom. And then my dad had a bad start and has ended up in P6, if I remember correctly, about what he was saying to me after the race. But I was I was hoping to get the win here, but I wasn't entirely thinking I was going to be able to do it. I mean, it's going to be a hard task because I wasn't too comfortable with the kart. It wasn't very fast in a straight line. It wasn't terrible, but it still wasn't very fast in a straight line. I don't want to keep making up excuses, but at the end of the day, I want to be respectful and say Will was definitely the fastest racer on this day, and he definitely deserved to, you know, pull away, and he's looking like he's going to be set for his third win and the first back-to-back winners in the same weekend, which will be slightly annoying for me as I wanted to do it first, but you know, Will drove a really good weekend. He missed out on pole very slightly, otherwise he would have done, you know, he'd have perfected the weekend pole and then race win for race 1 and race win for race 2, but that is still on the tables. But you know, you can already tell Will is pulling out a lead, and he's going to go off into the distance, and he's going to win this race. So the real race really is for P2, and also there's a big race for P4. As my dad had a slow start, but obviously he's had, you know, good speed, so he's going to be looking for good results. He's going to be looking to get past James and get past Tom, and try and get those extra points. And it's unfortunate for him having a bad start, but a bit like me, he's a bit heavier than everyone else, so we both have bad starts, but partly it's down to us both being quite tall, so well, actually being really tall in comparison to everyone else that's going in. Whether it makes really any difference whatsoever when you're karting in a straight line, you know, I stick up a bit more on the go-kart, so probably not as efficient in a straight line, whether that makes any difference whatsoever. It could be hundredths of a second, but you know, I want to make an excuse, just joking, but yeah, Will definitely just pulling off into the distance here. He said he did slow down for a couple of laps as he wanted to get involved in the battle, but once he realised Ben was not really going for the moves, you could say, he could have definitely got past me in these early stages, Ben, but he hasn't gone for the move as of yet, but he's very close by me. He can definitely get the move done. He just needs to maybe just throw it down the inside, maybe just risk it slightly, risk it for a biscuit. And as we're approaching the 33rd minute of this video, it's definitely been the longest go-kart video I've done, and I think it's partly down to the red flag and everything that ensued there. So it's just one of those things, isn't it? I think Ben there saying something in his helmet, you could probably hear it, but not having the greatest of times through the top section of the track there, definitely losing at least about half a second, I'd say. So he's lost a bit of time there. And really this is sort of interesting because I feel that Ben in the early stages of the season was definitely competitive. I'd say me and him were definitely sort of the two fastest people, and then he missed a couple of rounds. He missed the third round, which, you know, wasn't too bad. He came back in the fourth round and scored good points. But then he missed the 5th and 6th round, which wasn't good for him in the championship. But then also comes back and probably a little bit rusty after missing karting for nearly 3 months. I'd say he'd probably say himself, but probably a little bit rusty. So probably not really going for the overtakes when he could. Maybe just trying to, you know, maintain some good positions for points. That's probably that's probably his biggest thing, to try to get some points on the board here. Obviously it's nice to win as many races as you possibly can, but when you can't win, you want to finish on the podium, and that's what Ben's been doing. I think he might have finished on the podium every single race he's done, but I'd have to rewatch everything and see, but I think he's finished on the podium every single race he's done, so that's a good stat for him. And I think also interestingly, because I've got such a big lead in the championship, so I can afford to maybe have a couple of off weekends, but then if I do have these off weekends, I can also end up losing momentum and ending up being clawed in points wise by my dad, Ben, Job, whoever wants to try and get the championship. It's still wide open. I might have, going into this round, a 65-point advantage, but that's just 2 weekends. I could 3 weekends where I have really bad results, and that's the championship gone for me, or the championship lead gone for me, and I've really got to pick up the pace again if that happens. So I'm doing my best. I'm trying not to ever concede a position when I can. I'm always trying to do my best, and I think was it the fourth round? I think it was the fourth round with fantastic racing. I really enjoyed it, and unfortunately the GoPros failed for the second race, but that was the best race I have ever been part of. It was just so much fun. I managed to get into the lead and managed to defend from Ben and Will, and Ben got past me and then Will crashed into me, and then Will let me back past, and then Will got the overtake done. But it was a fantastic race, and I'm just still really annoyed that the cameras didn't work, or the cameras ran out of battery, but it's just one of those things, isn't it? But we still got a little bit of footage up. It was a bit of one of the weirdest go-kart highlight videos I've ever done, but yeah, that's just that. But yeah, I don't know how I got onto that topic, but I think Ben will say himself that he wished he would have came to the last couple of events, last couple of races, because he could really easily be challenging for this title. But unfortunately for him, he's 90 odd points back, and you'd think if he had came to those 3 events where he would have most likely scored 25 plus, he would have been within 20 points of me in the championship, and he would have been my closest challenger. But unfortunately for me, in a way, I've been to every race, and there's nobody else that's been to every other race. My dad's only missed 1 race, and Tom's only missed 1 race, and apart from that, Job has missed 2, I think. Harry has missed 4, 3, 4, 3, I think 3. Harry's done the same amount of races as Ben. So, and who do I miss? Will's obviously only done 3. So, yeah, I think it's great to have a lot of pressure on, but when the gap in the championship has just opened up, it's just a little bit unfortunate for me, as I really don't have the pressure on all the time. But I think when you have that pressure on, for example, like I did in round 4, it can provide a couple of extra attempts, and I think that's what I needed in round 4. But unfortunately for me, I only came home with P3 in that race. But I don't know, I've sort of ended up rambling on about random stuff in the last couple of bits in this video, because really it hasn't been the most exciting race in the world. It's sort of been just a bit of a procession after Ben slowly dropping back from me. I'm slowly dropping back from Will, so we're just sort of ever slowly getting further and further apart. There is a good battle going on between James, Tom and my dad, but I think at this point in the race my dad already got into P4, and Tom, with a slight mistake in this race, remember correctly what he's saying, he made a slight mistake and ended up dropping down to last and losing a gap to James, I should say, sorry. So he lost the gap to James, and it was just nearly an impossible task to regain all that time. But James, only his second time coming karting here, remember correctly, I can't remember what he said, but he's really putting in some good performances, and he could be coming a couple more times, so we'll see what happens with that. But I want to get a race with a lot of other people in it. I mean, I'll try my best. It's sort of it is a private championship between me, a couple of friends, and obviously a couple of family members as well. So yeah, it's a private championship, so unfortunately, I mean, it would be cool, but unfortunately, we're just not letting anybody join it. So it's just sort of everyone knows each other sort of thing, and it's not a bit awkward or whatever. But someday I would it would be cool, wouldn't it, to do like a race with like loads of subs or something. That'd be really cool if we could get something like that sorted out in the future. It'd probably have to be something in London or something, just because that's probably the easiest point for everyone to get to. Probably not easy for everyone to get to Sussex and to Eastbourne or wherever it is. I can't remember exactly where it is. It's not in Eastbourne, it's somewhere else. I don't know. Forget about that. My knowledge of everywhere is pretty terrible at the moment. But yeah, we're coming towards the end of this video. 40 minutes in nearly, and I can't believe I've been talking for 40 minutes nearly, and I think that's it. A bit of a weird last commentary in that last race, but I think that is it for that race, and everyone's slowing up. Yeah, that's the end of the race. So sorry that wasn't the most exciting race in the world, but I don't know, I think I ended up rambling on about something, so hopefully that was interesting. But that race ended up as a race that could be quite crucial for Ben, as it means that he gets onto the podium once again. Unfortunately for him, he only ends up with the weekend on 2 third places, which he definitely would have liked more. My dad ended up with a second and a fourth, so they both ended up with the same amount of points. But there we are, there's the race 2 results. Will won from me, then Ben, then my dad, then James and Tom. And in terms of points scored in this race weekend, Will scored 30, I scored 23, Dad and Ben both scored 20, James scored 15, and Tom scored 13. So this means the championship standings are as you see on the screen there. So I've got a 71 point advantage now over my dad. Ben's closing in on Job, and yeah, it's looking good. Hopefully you can tune in to the next race, guys, which will be in probably about 3-4 weeks time on this channel. So hopefully enjoy it. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video, and until next time, it's been Alex here. Goodbye.